TarotOracle, let's design some tarot cards. Let's design a tarot card. Okay, so the idea we have for this particular card is the Ace of Wands. So I want it to be a can of chips. This is the foodie tarot, the tasty tarot. I think I like the tasty tarot. All right, well, here's your initial design. So this is a rough sketch on some paper. So we got a kitty. Obviously, we have a kitty up here, and the kitty is on a can of chips, stumped with Mr. Assistant, and we have a doggy, and the doggy is trying to catch the kitty. So a lot of problems with the composition. The first one is it's really, really boring. How do you fix a boring composition? Well, let's make it a little weird, you know? Let's get a little weird. Why, instead of just a ground, why don't we have like a, maybe, do we got a sketch layer? Is this a sketch layer? I think so. So maybe have it a little bit of an angle. Yeah, there we go. So now we have a little bit of an angle, and we can draw the doggy and the kitty on the angle. So that seems like a decent thing, right? All right, so we need two objects. We need a kitty and a doggy. The Pringles can, we can just draw in basically the Photoshop alternative here, which is called Affinity Photo. Why do I use Affinity Photo instead of Photoshop? Well, let me tell you, Photoshop is rental software. You never own it. You never own it. So, yeah, I'd rather own it. And this is only 27 bucks on the Black Friday sale. So, let's do this. We got the kitty. We got the kitty. The kitty is going to be all right. Now, we need a can of Pringles. So, let's sort of sketch it out. We want the Pringles to be leaning a little bit. I don't want it to be steady. I want it to be a little bit of a lean. And it needs to be, well, it needs to be a little taller, right? We need room for the kitty. So we have a little bit of a lean on it. That's not a lean. A little bit of a lean on the can of Pringles. And it's leaning like the Tower of Pisa. Now we have a little stress, right? We've introduced a little bit of stress. Now the kitty could be on the edge. He could be sort of tilting over. You know what I mean? A little bit of that stress there. All right, so let's get a kitty in here. How big do we want the kitty? Want the kitty to be about so big? All right, let's loosely. This is not going to be a final thing. It's just going to be a quick trace. We have a kitty, and there is the kitty just on the hill, not on the hill, on the Pringles. And there we go. We got a little kitty collar. And we got a little bit of that. A little bit of the froofing going on with the name tag. Now, the good news is I can put somebody's initials right here. I can put somebody's initials. So if you want your initials on the kitty's collar, you know, I mean, you know, a little bit of a hint there. So we got the kitty. And we're going to do the kitty in designer. We're not going to do it in here. So that's basically it. We have the kitties there. Now, the couple of different ways we can do the kitty. The first thing we can do the kitty is we can have the kitty looking down at the doggy. But that's kind of boring too. I want the kitty to be looking at us. I want the kitty to be looking at us like he's looking at us like, or she's looking at us like, that dog's never, ever going to get me. The dog's never going to get me. And now we have the ground plane. Again, it's going to be angled. So here we go. So we got a kitty, and now we need a doggy. And let's loosely do the doggy on a new layer. Let's get a new layer. Call it doggy, because we're going to move the doggy around. Doggy's not going to be here. So we have a little doggy. He's got a little bit of a nose there. He's got a little foofy ear sort of coming down. He's looking at the kitty. He's all happy. Again, this is a rough sketch. Need I remind you? And got the doggy there, and then little doggy paws. All right, so there's your doggy, and let's get rid of this. We just hit delete and get it away. All right. The doggy is obviously, let's get the doggy layer, move the doggy around. We'll put the doggy here. Do we want to put him down a little bit? Maybe. Do we want to get the kitty and put the kitty down a little bit? Maybe. I don't know. I want the kitty to have some beef to him. Obviously the kitty is a little bit too much. Maybe the Pringles can needs to come up. Which layer is the Pringles can on? This one? No, it's the ground. Maybe the ground needs to come down a little bit. There it is. The ground needs to come down. We put the doggy on the ground, and then the kitty stays where he's at. We get the Pringles can and expand it some. I want the Pringles can, so I want the doggy not to be able to get to the kitty. So there we go. Move it over here a little bit, and overall, I think we're all right. I think we're pretty good with that. To put the kitty, I want the kitty on the edge. If you put the kitty over here, the kitty's too safe. Put the kitty on the edge. All right, how does my composition look? It looks all right. Maybe increase the doggy size. Increase the doggy size a little bit. I think that's going to be done with it. So the doggy might get to the kitty. He's really, really right there. All right, let's look at the overall composition. I like it. I like it. We got the let me switch colors here. Where are the colors? Let's go to red. Okay. Okay. So we got the doggy is not straight up and down. The doggy is sort of cornered around there. So the doggy is at an angle. The kitty is at an angle. The Pringles are at an angle, and the ground is at an angle. So you have this really unstable, weird, unusual composition, and I like it. I think this is going to be a good composition overall for an Ace of Wands. And the ground is enough away from the text to where it's going to be okay. So now we just need to add some grass and whatnot. I thought about doing some ants, like having a little ant trail, you know what I mean, where the ants are inside the ground or something, but I think that's going to be a bit too much. Let's apply the grass layer. Now let me tell you what not to do. I mean, I go ahead, let's just go over what you don't want to do at this point, and that is to get a grass brush and go hog wild and just be like, you said grass, you don't do that. Look how flat and uninteresting that is. You don't do that. What we want to do is we want to get a big marker, go to basic and get just a big old marker. We want to put some grass base in, basically. So we're going to call this grass base. All right. And then we're going to put basically as you go farther out, well, that's uninteresting too. As you go farther out, you have a little bit of a variance in there. So there we go. Now we have a nice angle on that, and try that out. There we go. Does that look okay? It looks pretty good. I like that. It's got some variance. It's got some ups and downs in it. So the farther out you go, the lighter it's going to be. So let's get a little bit of a darker, not like significant, just a little bit of a darker, and go like through there. And then we're getting a little bit closer, so we want a little bit closer look as there. Then a little bit more there. Look at that. That looks good. That looks great. Now, smudge tool over here. You see it? It says brush, sharpen, and smudge. We want the smudgy tool. We're going to blend this in like that. A little bit of a smudgy. It needs to be bigger. A little bit of a smudgy. I got a little smudgy tool there, and blend these together like this. A little bit of a blend. It looks kind of nice. So we have this, and then we're going to blur it a little bit, blend it a little bit, make it go together a little more so that we have a nice blend to it. But that's sort of going to be basically where we're at. We're going to have a nice grass variance. We have a color just sort of going in. You could use a gradient, but a gradient's really flat too. This gives it an interesting look. It almost looks like a little bit of grass or hills or something sort of happening on there. So now we have a nice little grass area coming in there with a little smudge tool action. So you almost have like planes, you know what I mean? The planes coming across, and just smudge it a little bit more into it, blending, and looks pretty good. Looks pretty good overall. I think it's nice. It's got a nice variant to it. You never really sort of know what's happening with it. And so let's zoom out and see how it looks. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to put on some grassy texture, but not just grass. We just don't want grass by itself. We want some variance in it. So, all right. So now we have well, we're going to go to Nature Concept A, and then we're going to play around with some of these grasses. But we want this on a different layer. So let's go ahead and lock the grass base, make a new layer, and call it, let's see, Grass Detail. And this is going to be our detail for our grass. Overall, I'm liking the looks of it. I think it looks interesting, and it looks pretty variant there. All right, and next step is to make the grass detail. Okay, so the next step is to tweak this. First off, the rocks. That is a little much, man. Press V as in Victor to get the move tool. The rocks are a bit much. It's without it, it looks weird, but with it, it looks even weirder. Let's turn this into a bush. We're just making this up at this time, so let's turn this into a little bit of a bush. And let's get a darker green. Let's get like a super dark green. Get our brush tool by doing B. Let's get a basic brush. I want something that's going to be pretty heavy. Just sort of go over it here with a little bit of this. And again, this is going to be, we just want it to come up a little bit like right here. So we're going to put leaves on it, obviously, but I'm just going to kind of get a basic feel of where the bush is. And this is going to stop your eye from rolling around and leaving the composition. Now we will get the eraser tool and take some of this out. So don't worry if it looks too uniform. We're going to take little bits of it out after we get the leaves on it. So no worries there. Never fear. TO is here, I guess. So yeah, if we draw a line down the middle, we got this side has a hill that's higher. This side has the dog. And this side has the cat, this, and this. So I think overall, as far as the composition is concerned, I think it looks okay. All right. So now let's tweak the grass. Let's go to the grass detail layer, not the grass base. We don't want to ruin it. In fact, let's go ahead and lock that. Let's go ahead and lock the grass base. So if we get on grass base, we can't ruin it. All right. The grass detail, I want to brush from that pack, the Frankentoon pack. And we're just going to sort of play around with this, see what we got here. What in the world is happening? Like at this point, what's going on? Not really sure what's happening. Okay, let's see. That looks pretty decent. And this is sort of an extra. Let's put that on top. So for a ground base, that looks pretty decent. That does look pretty decent, I have to say. See, what else can we play with here? We have this. No, that is like a plant. I don't want a plant. I want something for the base ground. What is this called? This is called stone mold? I don't think so. Autumn speckles? Nah. Let's stick with this. Let's stick with Garden B. Garden B looks all right. All right. So I want so what you don't want to do, let me tell you what you don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. That's bad. So let's stay away from that and use that only for like highlights. And for now, let's go with Garden B. Let's reduce the size of it. Let's get a little bit of we want to stay desaturated. Let's get a little lighter. So let's grab this color and then let's get a little bit darker. Just a little bit. Come in here like that. So we have a little bit of a variance here as we sort of move in. And I like that. That looks pretty cool. And just get some of that and put it through here. We have a nice sort of a speckled, sort of a grassy speckled look as we come in through here. Obviously we want to vary the size a little bit. Well, not like that. We want to vary the size a little bit and sort of get a nice ground plane going. Vary the amount and sort of where it's at. And I think that looks pretty decent. It looks fairly decent. Again, we're going to come in here and use a little bit more detail a little later. But then as we go along, let's get a little more saturation and come in here. Whoa, that's a bit much. That is a bit too much saturation, I have to say. That is a lot of saturation. As we come in, we get a little bit of that in there as well. All right, let's increase the size. Sort of going to be our ground plane as we sort of come in. And, well, that looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. As we get closer, we do want to get darker. So we got a bit darker. We got some darker feel over here. And we are going to have some grass texture as it comes along. And then we get a little lighter and come in through there. So we got this nice, sort of a nice look to it. Just a nice sort of feel to everything. You know, a little darker here, a little lighter as we go up there. And a little, as we move in towards the dog, we want it a little smaller. And I think that's going to look okay. Just get a little more of this, a little more of the ground plane and whatnot as we come in through there. And again, we want dark. We want fairly dark over here. So a desaturated feel up there. Again, we're going to have more grass as we get in there. Let's go to this other brush and get a mix of that in there. All right, there we go. A little mix, and then darker as we come back through here. And then, yeah, a couple of pure black ones. There you go. Not just sort of a variance there. All right, so as we sort of zoom out and see what it looks like as we're going forth, get a little more saturation. Again, we just don't want to kill it, but we do want more saturation in there. And get right about there. Just get some yellow. Just get like a pretty yellow. That's not a pretty yellow. Let's get a nice yellow. Just do a yellow up here. You know, have a little yellow sticking out as where the dog is and whatnot. Looks nice. A little more variance as we come in up through here too. There we go. I think it looks pretty nice. So if we zoom out, so this is about the size of a tarot card. That looks good for a base. I think that looks good for a base. Obviously, we want to start adding detail now. And in order to add detail, I want to get some just browns. I want to get some browns in there. So that's what we need, some browns in here. And let's do a little bit of a different. Let's see, what does this look like? What in the world is going on? So these are sort of leaves that are on the ground. And that would sort of be interesting. That looks absolutely terrible. Sort of leaves on the ground. Again, that looks absolutely terrible. As we come in towards us, we can get a couple of these. Not a lot. Definitely want to be sparse with this. But as we're sort of coming in there, they get a few of those. It gives a nice variance. All right, what else do we got to play with? We got some actual grass. Let's get into this grass B, rainforest. This is not a rainforest. Wild plants. Let's get some wild plants. That looks good. Fine grass. There we go. Get some fine grass in there. And go back to our green. Let's pick up some fine grass and sort of blend it in here. So you get a little bit of that texture, of that fine grass texture that's going to be in across through here. Whoa. Pressed a little too hard. So to get a little bit of the variance there with that. Looks pretty decent. Actually, it does not look decent at all. Let's back away. Here we go. Pressed a little hard on that. We could come in here with just really dark and put some in here. Like we have, you know, a few grass levels here. Go lighter. And let's go just really, really obnoxious green there. And sort of move in through that. You know, just a little bit. It is called fine grass. We want a little fine grass here and there. Like there. I think that's going to be all right. It looks pretty decent. Okay, now let's get some variants and some plants and actual grass. Grass B and grass C. That's straight grass. Let's get some straight grass. Let's get really, really, really dark. Really, really big. Let's do some straight grass. Let's just do some straight grass up here, like that. And that is behind all of this stuff. I really need to make a new layer at this point and just call it straight grass. And let's do that. So now we have straight grass. Now you can actually see it. Now we're going to come up. And for this, let's reverse out. Let's do flow at 100%. Do flow at 100%. So we want some straight grass. I want like some pretty decent looking And you can kind of curve it like that as you sort of come in. I want to be fairly big. I mean, this is, well, not that big. I want to be fairly large. We'll come in through there. So we got some straight grass coming through there, a little bit of the straight grass through here, and we can sort of bunch it. We can sort of bunch it up a little bit like that. There we go. So we got some straight grass action, and we got the leaves as we sort of wander into the background. And we can darken this up a little bit, get the other grass, sort of come in here and just sort of, I just want to touch this a little bit. So let's get the opacity, bring it down to about 50. And then let's just sort of hit this here. I just want little clumps of this grass. Again, I don't want like huge swaths of it. And we can get a little bit into the, like that. And then a little like that. Let's get pure yellow. Ooh, pure yellow. Sort of coming through here. So we got the grass. So see, look at that. You got little sections in there. We get a little more of that green. Mix it in there. Here we go. Get that green a little bit darker. And yeah. Again, we don't want huge swaths of it, but we do want some sort of a sections coming out through there. So, well, it looks pretty good. Like that. I like that. Okay, so let's zoom out. This is going to be your tarot card size. I like it. Okay, now let's put some plants in there. I want a little color. So let's get a little bit of red. I want a little red. And I want some pretty plants in the background there. Look at these flowers right here. Look at that. That's pretty. All right, let's see. That's flax flowers. Let's see how that works. Oh, my. Oh, my. That is everything but right. That is correct if you want to be incorrect. Yes, indeed. All right, so let's get the opacity. Let's bring it down to 50%. Let's put them on the dog's ass. Yeah, this would be great. The dog. We want we want just a little bit. We want a little bit of this. So let's get it pretty small and have like a few here and have up the size and have a couple there. Then let's get a little bit darker as we sort of come in through here. Let's bring the opacity up to like 80% and just have just like a couple in here, you know, like on the end of the leaves kind of thing. Be kind of cool. So you just got a little bit of that red. Let's get the eraser, bring it down to 10%, yeah, get the eraser, bring it down to 30%, and just sort of erase a little bit of that. And let's see, let's get some, what do we want to do? Let's get some bright orange. Let's get some bright orange. There we go. Ooh, that's pretty. Get some bright orange. And get a different type of flower. What about this flower here? What about a bright orange flower there? We're still on the eraser. I'm not sure what I'm doing at this point. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. Bring the opacity down to 30%. There we go. Now bring it to 60%. Get a couple of these like that. That's pretty. Let's bring it really, really small. Bring the opacity down to 40%. Let's get a little bit of that there. Maybe 50%. A little over here as well. Let's deepen the orange and get a couple in the mix down there. Ooh, that's nice. And then a little pink. What do you think? A little pink? A little bit of a pink on this particular flower and put some right there. So overall, let's see what we got. That looks nice. That looks really nice. Okay, so let's go forth and do the bush. We need a bushy bush. Put some of this over. I love this thing so much. I'm going to put some over there. Screw it. I put some flowers over here. I don't care if you like it or not. All right, we need some bushy looking bushy stuff. What is this? That is, what? I'm hovering over it. What are you? Stone mold. That is going to be not bushy stuff. What? Where's my bushy stuff? What about this? This looks pretty. What about that? What is that called? That's 160. It's 170. Whoops. Okay. Let's go to the rocks layer. Let's make another layer. Let's call it rocks detail. Because we're going to be back to We're going to be back to this. Rocks detail. All right, well, let's hold down Option, grab the color from the bush, and bring the opacity to 100%. And let's sort of see what we got there. Ew. We just want corners at this point. The flow is at 75%. That is all sorts of wrong. So there we go. A little bit of the flow there. Got a little bit of a bushy bush. A bushy bush. There we go. Bushy. Bring the bushy out there. Looks all right. No, that doesn't look all right. Let's fix that. Let's bring the bushy out to about here. What do you think? Out to about there. So that is a little too uniform. We're going to get the eraser and fix that. We can get the eraser and use the bushy and erase into the rock. So we choose the rock, we get the bushy, and we can erase. So I'm using the eraser, but the bushy brush. And we selected rocks. Now I can sort of delete into here and make it a little bit more realistic per se, right? Get the rocks detail and get that. So overall, that looks pretty good. And again, we can go for the rock. We can get the top of it and just ease it out and sort of move it out there. So there we go. Now we got a nice bushy. Now we want to grab this, hold down Option, grab this, and we want to make it a little more yellow. Make it a little lighter and yellow and get some bushy action on that. So, oops, we did it on the rocks. Let's do rocks detail. There we go, rocks detail. And why isn't this working? What is going on? Oh, because I have it on the eraser, duh. All right, there we go. Get a little bit of bushy there, and that looks fairly decent. We don't want this everywhere. It's going to kind of ruin it, but we do sort of like it like this. That looks decent. I mean, this is sort of interesting texture there. Let's get a much lighter color and come in here and press a little light. And again with the bushy, sort of go there. So the light is coming from over here. So we don't want the light like that. We want the light up here. We want the light sort of emerging. So we want this beautiful, bright, pretty, emergent. Well, not like that. Oh, not like that. Oh, that's terrible. Not like that. Pretty bright, emergent type feel as it comes up. And then we go a little shade into the yellow. So there you go. A little into the yellow shade there. And we want the flow at 100% now. There we go. That looks decent. It doesn't look great, because the reason it doesn't look great, we want a really dark down through here. It's sort of what you're missing at this point is just some super dark textures around there. And we can get into the rocks and the rocks detail and come in with almost a pure black at this point. And make sure that we're on the brush, and we are on the brush. And let's come in here and just make it super dark with the bushy stuff, because again the light is coming from over there, and we want some darks that sort of blended in here a little bit like that. So that's going to give you some nice darks. Oh, that's a little, some nice darks as we come down as well. Maybe one or two big ones as we go through there. A little bit darker here. Again, the darker it is in the corner, the less your eye is tempted to wander around there. Let's get like really dark down through there. Okay, that looks pretty good. It looks decent. Okay, again, let's get the eraser tool and press E for that. And let's just erase. Let's erase here a little bit. Let's get the rocks. Let's erase. Go to the rocks layer. Let's erase a little bit here so we can sort of peek through here a little bit. Go to the rocks detail, erase in here a little bit. Again, so we can sort of peek through. We're not just like one solid thing. You know what I mean? You don't want like one solid deal. You want that, like that. So that looks okay. It doesn't look great, but it looks okay. It's got some problems on the edges with the brush. We can come in here and sort of fix the edge a little bit. But overall, overall, this looks fairly decent, just for a standard tarot card. Anyway, that's how I'm sort of going to do the foliage. Now we'll move on to creating the characters.